In this video, we're going to practice our JavaScript skills that we've learned so far to create this very simplistic but nonetheless effective war card game. And the idea in this game is that when the page has loaded, player one will be on the left, player one will be on the right. Random cards are being displayed, and then the software will decide which of these is greater, display the winner, ask us if we want to play again. I'm going to type out yes. Then the process will go again. Random cards are being displayed. Player 2 won. In this round, do I want to play again? I'm going to say yes to see if I can get player 1 to win. Yay, player 1 won. Player 1 wins. That's tongue twister. Do I want to play again? I'll say no. And then thanks for playing. So that's what we're going to create here in our project. So I'm going to close out that window. And this is the starting file that I've provided for you. And so at first it's going to show 2 jokers and this text that just says play war. And so just to go over what you've been provided, you have an index file that has the images. So this image has a card 1 ID. So that way we can get at it uniquely from the second image, which was card 2. So that has an ID of card 2. And they have a default right now that they're each displaying with the source, the cards directory, and in the cards directory we have all of those files. And obviously that's why we put it in a separate folder just for organization. It makes sense to put all of those images in a card folder rather than, or an images folder or some other folder rather than where we're keeping track of our code. And then I have this H1 that also has a unique ID of winner. So again, I can, through my JavaScript, grab each of these elements uniquely because they each have a unique ID. And so that's how I can grab each one and manipulate it through my JavaScript code. And so that's what we're going to do. You can see that I've already created for you a script that has 4 different arrays, and each array is going to represent the different suit. So array clubs has all clubs images in it. Array diamonds has all diamonds images, and so forth. And then in each array, I've just sort of hard-coded, if you will, I have placed in the name of the corresponding image file. So if you look in cards and you look up 2 of clubs PNG, 2 of clubs happens to be the first one, and we click on that, then that's our 2 of clubs. And so I'm using this array to keep track of or to simulate this piece right here. So we're actually going to change the source of this image based on the name of it. So, what? I know. We're going to do it. Okay, so I just want you to recognize that this piece here matches a name here. So 2 of clubs.png is 2 of clubs.png. That's the name of this image file. So if I put 2 of clubs image, 2 of clubs.png in here, obviously my source is going to change. So let me just demonstrate that. So physically what we're going to be doing is grabbing one of these array items. I'm just going to copy it, placing it in here, and then JavaScript is saying, oh, there's a new source. I'm just going to change the source. So that's how these arrays are going to interact with our image. They're simply going to change the source, just like as if we had done it with a copy and paste, which is what I just did. And as I'm going to copy and paste this and put it back in here, and Control V, and then JavaScript is going to say, I know what that is. All right, so that's really what we're going to be doing here with our arrays. All right, so sit back, here we go. Let's play war, or let's code war. Okay, so I'm going to put all of this JavaScript code inside of my script tags. I'm giving myself a little bit of room here. And the first task that I can see that we need to get accomplished is that I need to randomly select a suit. So I'm going to randomly select which array that our first card is going to display. In other words, I'm randomly selecting a suit. And then the second thing we'll do is once we know which suit or which array we're going to work with, then we're going to randomly select a card out of that array. So I'm going to do this first. Let's randomly select a suit. Randomly select what we're thinking of as a suit, but what we're really thinking about is an array. So we're going to randomly choose 0, 1, 2, or 3, and depending if we choose, if we randomly get 0 through 3, then we can, or you can do 1 to 4. That would work. So 1 would be array of clubs, 2 would be array of diamonds, 3, you get the idea. All right, so first we need to generate a random number. And so I'm going to call it suit. And I'm going to use the number 1 because I'm going to have to end up doing this for 2 players, right? I'm going to have to do this for player 1, and then I'm also going to have to copy this, repeat this code for player 2. So I'm going to, again, I need to initialize a variable. I'm going to call it suit1 to replicate the first card, and we're going to choose a random number. So to choose a random number, I'm going to do math dot, this time I'm going to do ceiling, so that I can choose 1 to 4. So I'm going to do math.random times 4. And because we've chosen ceiling, I get 1 to 4. So if we had chosen floor, we would have gotten 0 through 3. So I'm going to do ceiling. So sorry, I got myself confused. So ceiling is going to be a number between 1 and 4. And so again, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So as I always do when I do programming, when I do something, I always test it before I move on just to make sure it's doing what I had wanted it to do. In other words, you don't have to have the semicolon there, that's optional. So I'm going to console log whatever got randomly selected. So I'm going to come into my browser and choose inspect element and try to spread this out so things don't look so smushed up. There we go. And then I'm going to click on the console tab. And now I'm going to refresh to see that I'm randomly getting numbers between 1 and 4. So that way I know that it's working. There's 2 that's being displayed. 2 got chosen randomly. 4 got chosen randomly. 2. Just going to do a couple more just to make sure that it is doing what I expected. I'm hoping to get a 1 eventually. There's a 1. But no 0. So I know that I'm effectively getting what I had anticipated or what I was hoping for between 1 and 4. And it console logs, so I know I'm doing something right so far. Okay, I don't need this anymore. I'm going to erase it because I just wanted it for troubleshooting as I did my code. All right, so now that I have chosen I've randomly gotten a number, I want to set up an if condition, an if block, which will choose based on the random number, which, let me do another line so you can see it, which array to use or which suit, okay? Remember that if it chose, and I'm using that word intentionally, if it randomly chose 1, I'm going to use array of clubs. If it randomly chose 2, I'm going to use array of diamonds, etc., etc. So we're going to set up an if block to do just that. So if the random number that was selected, which is suit 1, if suit 1, I need to put that in parentheses, if suit 1, and then compares to, remember compares is 2 equal signs. So if suit 1 compares to 1, open and close curly braces. So anything inside the parentheses is my condition. That has to be true or false. So if suit 1 is the same as the number 1, and notice I don't have to put this in quotations because it's a number. So if the number, it would work either way, but that's really confusing. So let's do it with a 1 and say with quotations. That's not something we talked about in class, so that's a little bit confusing. So let me just finish this up here and I'll demonstrate. So let's do an alert. Alert, it was a 1. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is test my code. If suit 1 equals string 1 in quotations. So I'm going to refresh my page and I'm going to, oh, I didn't console log it anymore. I did. I know this is kind of confusing, so just sort of bear with me here. Console log suit 1. All right, so what I'm doing then is I'm going to test to see if I want to make sure I know that 1 was selected. If 1 is selected randomly, am I getting that alert box so I know that my code is working? So let's just run through this. There's a 3 I didn't put an if condition for 3, so nothing happened. Log again, 4, nothing happened. And 4, and 4, I'm trying to get a 1. Look, all right, it was a 1. So now that I know my if block is working here, if suit1 is equal to 1, which it randomly chose the 1, and we put it in quotations, so I'll save that no quotations and with quotations for another day. So go ahead and put your condition in quotes, just like I've done here. If suit1 is the same as whatever's in quotations here, which happens to be a 1, then give me an alert box so that I know my code is working. So yay, that is working. So let's finish this out as far as our other choices. So what I know here is that if it's a 1, use array of clubs. So this is a club, or clubs was chosen. Hope that makes sense. All right, so I'm going to continue on with my if block to for the rest of my conditions. Else if suit1 is the same as 2 equal signs 2, then use alert. Let's just add this out just so we have it. It was a 2. And then I know that I need to use, I'm just going to copy and paste, use array of, what's my second one? Diamonds. Or diamonds was chosen. Okay. And then I'm going to do another else if suit1 is the same as 3. I'm going to copy and paste this in, open and close curly braces, alert, it was a 3. And I know 3 is hearts, so let's use array of hearts. Or hearts was chosen. Okay. And then my other choice is an else. I only have 4 choices, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to end this with an else. Otherwise, oops, help me out with, there we go. Otherwise, this is my last choice, so fall into this bucket. So I'm going to copy this in. Else it was a 4, and we know that it would be spades. S-P-A-D-E-S, or spades. So all I'm doing right now is randomly choosing one of these 4 arrays. A lot of code for something that seems so simple, right? But that's what programming is all about. All right, just for real estate purposes, I'm going to close up this projects pane so I just see what's going on here. All right, so let's test our code and make sure it's working. I'm going to look for the appropriate alert box. So I'm going to hit refresh. This randomly chose a 2, and my if condition is working correctly. So the JavaScript program went in here and said, if suit is equal to, or not equal to, is the same as compared to 1. That is not the case. So I came to the second one. Is the random number the same as 2? It was. So it fell into this bucket. It did what was done in here. And then that's all that was done here in this if condition. So let me reiterate that. Let me at the end here, document write, I'm finished. Just for a visual, just to make sure that we understand what's happening. Okay, so I'm going to save that and refresh again. And so now I'm going to, randomly chosen was a 1. So the program read this portion of the if condition was true. I'm going to alert the 1. No other conditions were evaluated because only one of these choices is picked. And then when I click on OK, we're going to see I'm finished. So remember that only one of these conditions will ever be chosen. And once one of the conditions is chosen, the program will ignore all of the other conditions, exit the whole entire if block, and then come to whatever comes after that if block. In this case, it's a misspelled finished. So let me just do a couple more just to make sure. 3 was chosen, 3 was displayed, so I know that this portion is working correctly. I haven't seen the 4 yet, so let me just verify a 4. There, oh, wow, I'm magic. Look at that. Just say it and it happens. Say I'm going to get $1 million. Okay, I'm waiting. I'll go look at my bank account when I'm done here. So 4 was randomly selected, 4 got displayed, And so I know that I've now seen all 4 of these conditions work, and I know that I'm getting the right bucket chosen. All right, so now that we have selected an appropriate array to choose from, the next step we're going to do is, all right, now we need to randomly choose a card out of that array. All right, so now we're getting to the meat of the game here. Next thing we need to do is choose what array out of array, what item, what element out of array of clubs, in other words, which card are we randomly going to select? And so we know that we've chosen which array. So now we need to randomly choose a number or a card. Remember that an array is set up between 0, it starts at 0. I have 13 cards in here, so each element is 0. This would be element number 0. So if I were to hard code this would be array of clubs of 0. This would be array of clubs of 1, etc., etc. So I'm going to delete all of these alert boxes because I don't want that. It was just for testing. It would be irritating to see that over and over again. I know that that's working. So the next thing then is, let me kind of demonstrate where I'm going. Now that I know I have array of clubs, if 1 is randomly chosen, then what I can do is, well, I know this is array of clubs. And let's, I'm going to console log this. Console log, just so we can see it, how this is progressing. Array of clubs, and let's just hard code in a 0. So if you chose 1, then I want you to console log the first element in array of clubs, which would be this 2 of clubs.png. It's not going to show me the card right now. It's just going to give me this string. So let me do the same thing for all 3 of them. So we've got this one, and instead of array of clubs, it's array of diamonds. And then if it was, I'm just going to copy and paste. If this wasn't a hearts, we're going to choose array of hearts. And then same thing for console log. Yep, I'm doing that right. Okay, console log array of spades. Okay, so now I'm going to do this again. So it was a 2. So 2 was diamonds. Let me just double check. So 2 was our array of diamonds. And if you show the first element of array of diamonds, first element, we should get a 2 of diamonds .png. So that seems to be working. So let's refresh the page. If it was a 3, we're getting 3 console log array of hearts of 0, array of hearts of 0, which is definitely array of hearts of PNG. So hopefully you see where we're headed on this. So now instead of hard coding in the 0, we're going to randomly choose which element to display. So I'll put it up here. Var, we'll do card 1. Same scenario, because we're setting this up for just this first card. So we need to randomly select math.reduce. This time I'm going to do floor, and I'll explain that after I'm done typing, times 13. So I'm saying 0, I want the number 0, so I'm using floor instead. This is going to display a number between 0 and 12. Remember, I have 13 elements, but they actually start at 0. So there is no such thing as array of clubs number 13, because there's 13 elements that start at 0. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's just try this. I'm going to put card 1. So I'm copying that. So instead of using 0, I'm going to put that random number that was chosen between 0 and 12 into my array. So we're randomly choosing an array now, and inside an array, we're randomly choosing a card. So let's just see what gets console logged now. So we got a 3 of hearts here, and I could have console logged. Let's do that. Let's also console log our card 1. So that way we can see what was randomly selected and what ended up getting displayed. So I'm going to refresh the page. So 2 is our card, our array, and 2 should be, I'm just double checking here, 2 should be a diamond. And then the random card was element number 3. So if I go to diamonds and I go 0, 1, 2, 3, should be of the 5 of diamonds, which in fact is what got displayed. So let's refresh again and just double check. So our first array was chosen, which is array of clubs. And then the random element was 3. So array of clubs would be 0, 1, 2, 3. So we've got a 5 of clubs. One more time. Let's double check. All right. So my 2 is 1, 2, array of diamonds, and it's the 11th element. So that's going to be way out. So there's 0, 1, 2, 3. I've got to spread this out so we can see further. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So King of Diamonds, again, recognizing that 12 is our highest random number we can select because there is no random number 13. All right, so King of Diamonds is in fact what got output here in our console. So on the right track. So now the last piece of this puzzle then is great. Now that we know this is the King of Diamonds.png, and what you're telling me is that I'm somehow going to be able to take this value that we randomly selected, copy and paste that into this piece right here. So this is literally what we're doing in our code. I want to take this, I'm going to control copy. I want to come into the image source of this first one, which is card 1. I've decided that that's ID card 1. So with using card ID card 1, let's find that source tag and change it, paste this new value that we've randomly pulled out of the array, and now update our page. And now there's our King of Diamonds. All right, so let's see how we do that in code. All right, so I'm going to come back in here, undo that. All right, so how do we do that here in code? Well, it's pretty easy. We've got the hard part done. So after my if condition, I'm going to, and just below the part that says I'm finished. I don't really need that anymore. It was just to demonstrate that we're not using any of the other lines of the if block, but that's okay. So in class, we did that thing where we said document get element by ID. And we did document, and then I did a period, get element with a capital E, capital B for by, B-Y, capital I, and then lowercase. So pay attention to your casings there, because if you put something like capital ID, this won't work. So it's the only caps are the E and the B and the I. So get element by ID, parentheses and quotation says, go find an element that has an ID that I'm providing. And so we've decided that this image has card ID of 1. So I'm going to paste that in here. Okay, so go grab that unique element. So I've uniquely identified it with an ID. So JavaScript can find it because there's nothing else on here with an ID of card 1. This has an ID of card 1. And so now what we're going to say is now that you've got that in JavaScript, now that you've got a hold of that, I'm going to use the period and the SRC. So SRC is just like we have up here, right? So we're trying to copy and paste this value in that we chose randomly that I showed you a little earlier in this, just before I got started. So go grab this element's SRC value. That's what we just did here. And we're going to change it. So I'm going to use the equal sign, which means assign. Remember when we do variables, whatever's on the right, assign that to whatever on the left. So it's very similar. It's the same kind of thing, just like we did with a variable. And then inside of this quotations, I'm going to put, I want to use the card directory because that's what we have here, right? So we have cards. So let me just copy this whole thing in. I'm going to copy that in and put it in here. Okay, because we're going to change it. And remember, we're changing this piece to whatever we randomly got here. So since this part varies, I'm going to erase it from my quotations. Remember, quotations means literally whatever's in here. Exactly this, do that. But we also want to append or join this piece that we got here. So we need to get this card. Actually, I should probably do it in here. I'm sorry. Don't get mad at me. Let's put it in here. So we randomly chose this. I'm going to append that here. Okay. So go grab card 1, go get its source, and change it to whatever I've provided here on the right-hand side of our assignment operator, or in our case, this equal sign. Take that string, literally cards, and append the new string that we get from our random selection. So let me copy that into each bucket here. So now we're choosing not array clubs, but array diamonds. And then we're going to do the same thing here. And then this is array hearts. So that needs to be array hearts. And then I'm going to copy that in to here. And this needs to be array spades. Okay. So we're console logging it, plus our card should actually change. What? Let's see it. So when I refresh, I do have an ace of hearts that we randomly selected, and my card source has also changed. Okay, and I did it again. Queen of clubs. Queen changed. So that seems to be working swimmingly. What I don't like is the amount of copying and pasting I had to do. So this works, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to get a little bit more efficient, I'm going to go where I started initially. And let's see. Let's just hard write it so that way you see what I'm doing. Okay, so to get a little bit more efficient, what I might do is this part's always the same, right? Document get element by ID dot source. That's the same on all of these. All of this is exactly the same on all 4 buckets. The only thing that's changing is the selection. So that's repetition of code. And anytime you see yourself repeating code, you try to find a way to not, because it's very easy to make mistakes. What if I had accidentally left this as array hearts, for example? I already selected it once. I should just be able to use it. Let me just demonstrate. So let me get all of the code that's repeating itself. So up to here, this is all repeating itself on all 4 of these conditions. So I'm going to put it down here instead. And the only thing that varies is that card selection. So let me do this. I'm going to comment out all of these just so you see them, but you know that I'm doing something different with them. So they're here, but I'm commenting them out. So JavaScript will ignore anything in comment, so I can leave it there for a visual, but it's not actually going to run. And so instead of, I'm going to, let's see, how am I going to do this so you can see it? I'm going to create another variable, and I'll call it card selected. And I'm also going to do, I suppose, a 1 on this just to keep it. And let's see, I'm going to put a comment here. So this is a way to save which card was selected. Okay. And so card selected 1. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say card selected 1, card selected 1, there we go, is equal to array clubs of 1. Okay, and so that string that got randomly console logged is actually being stored in a variable instead. I'm going to copy that variable and put it in here just so that I can see that, see which one is still being displayed. And then in the end, what I can do then, let's just keep going with this idea. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say card select. I'm just going to copy this. And so now I'm going to say card selected here is this one. And I'm going to put card selected in here just for your visual. And then I'm going to get copy and paste here, copy and paste here. Card selected is equal to array of hearts. And so this becomes card selected instead. And one more time. And card selected is array of spades. And then this becomes card selected. And the reason why I'm doing this is, seemed like a lot of setup, but see, here's the thing. Now, all I have to do is put, since card selected is the same variable in all slots, it's only going to receive one of these values. And so when we leave the if block, card selected is going to have the string that was randomly selected depending on which bucket it fell into. And so now all I have to do here is put the card selected one at the end. So that way I'm only writing this document get element by ID card 1 source 1 once. And so now let's just double check to make sure our code is still working. And it seems to still be working, so that's good, but it's just a little bit more efficient because we're not writing card selected over and over again. All right. So where do we need to go from here? Well, we probably need to copy and paste all of this code in a second time so that we can have this second card updating as well. So I'm going to remove I'm finished. I don't really need that. So I'm just going to put a comment here, card for second player, just to kind of keep this all separated so that way I don't have, I kind of set up a storybook for myself so I don't get confused when I'm looking at all this code. And so same thing, I don't need to recopy these array. I only need that in one place. But this part is all going to need to be copied for my second player. So I'm going to copy all of that code. It's all the same. The only thing that's going to change is our location for our card 2. So I'm going to copy that in. I'm going to paste it in here. And card for second player. So I do need a new, in fact, I can still use a suit 1. That will work. So I still need I need to recreate. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So I still need to get a new random number. I don't really need to reinitialize this. I'm kind of hemming and hawing, and I apologize for that because I set this up a little bit different than I intended it to, but it will work just fine. So that's why you hear me going, why are you pausing? This is why, because I can still use this same variable. I don't need to create a separate one for 1 and 2 because I'm just doing it again. So now that I've finished the first card and the first card has refreshed itself, the code will just continue on. Now I'm putting a second random number. It's going to overwrite the one we did originally. So we're getting a second random number that's going to be used for our second card. We're getting for our second array. We're doing the same thing for our second card. So I can just use these again. So I don't need to do a new var. I can just keep using the same one. Console log those new ones. Let's just see. Well, let me continue on with this. This stuff is still the same. So if suit 1 is 1, we're going to use array of clubs. None of this information is going to change. That's all the same. Suit 1, so we're still going to draw from the first array or the second array or the third array. This part's still the same. Look inside that array and choose out a random card. And then the only thing that's going to change for us then is the piece that I didn't copy in, and that would be get element by ID. And so now this part is different where we're going to tab. Am I tabbing? Yes, I am. Control V. So now instead of grabbing card 1 and changing its source, let me look at the top here, and I'm scrolling to the top and remembering that image 2, the second image, corresponds to the second card, has an ID of card 2. So I need to update with the new information, card 2. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to change this to card 2. Now if I save that, let's see what happens. I'm going to refresh my page. I am getting 2 random cards. Notice that, let's just be sure, I'm going to scroll up to the top. The first time we console logged, that was from my first random selection. So this console log is for the first card. So it's doing the 1, so it's choosing the first array. It's choosing the first card in the first array. This is the string that's in that first array, so it went to card ID card 1 was the name of that ID and it updated its source. And then it did exactly the same thing. We just copied and pasted the code, but the only thing that changed was our ID for the second one. And so we changed card 2 to source to the new random selection. And so if I keep refreshing this, I'm keep getting, yay. All right, so the last piece of this puzzle is where I got myself stuck. All right, so the last piece of this puzzle is we have to have a way to store what card 1 is and what card 2 is, so that way we can determine who is the winner. And so that's the last piece of our puzzle here that we're going to address next. So the last piece of this puzzle is a little bit thinking outside of the box. And here's what I mean by that. We need to determine who the winner is. Was it the Jack or was the 9? Well, a computer's not smart enough to know the difference between Jack of Hearts.png and 9 of Diamonds.png. So we have to devise another way to figure out, well, based on what we have, what will the computer understand is less or greater than? And here's what I'm thinking, or here's how I set this up when I planned this ahead of time. Computer doesn't know the difference between all of these, but what it does understand is my random selections. In other words, I chose a number between 0 and 12, and 0 represents 2, 1 represents 3, etc., etc. And so I set this array up intentionally, making 12 be the highest number, which also corresponds to an ace. And you and I both know, usually, that an ace is higher than a 2. So if ace corresponds to 12, and 2 corresponds to 0, and all the way up, then all I really have to do under the hood, or where the users aren't seeing, is find that random number that was chosen between 0 and 12 and make the comparison there. If 0 is less than 12, obviously you know who won, right? So this is where I need to keep track of each individual random number, which is where I kind of went with card 1 and card 2. So what I'm thinking here is, when I created card 1, I need to store that value because this is the first card element that was chosen. Is it 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4? And then, so I'm going to change, I'll keep this as var card 1, but I'm going to go down and change the second one to card 2. And if I change that to card 2, that means I'm going to have to change all of my selections here to card 2. So card 2, card 2, card 2, and I should have one more or two more, card 2 and card 2. All right, so now I'm keeping track of 0 through 12 on card 1 for player 1 and 0 through 12 on card 2. And so the ultimate goal here is, here's where I'm headed with that. If card 1 is less than card 2, then that means card 1 is the winner. This is the winning card. Does that make sense? So randomly up above, card 1 is filled with 0 to 12. And randomly up above, card 2 is also randomly chosen between 0 and 12, which is how we're getting to each individual card. So let's just do an alert for now. Alert card 1 wins. And then else if, what are my other choices? I only have 2 other choices. Else if card 1 is greater than card 2, then alert card 2 wins. And my only other choice is that it's a tie. So I'll do another else. Else alert it's a tie. All right, and so let's see if that works. So I'll test my code. It's a tie. Seems to have worked. Let's do it again. Card 2 wins. Ah, looks like I have a problem, don't I? Because card 2 didn't win. So Card 1, maybe my code is backwards. So this is where you check to make sure that what you've done is correct. So card 2 wins. Else if card 1 is greater than card 2. So it looks like I have my logic backwards, right? Oh, thank you for protect your important folders. So looks like I made my logic backwards. If card 1, and so this is great. This is why you test your code. So it looks, if card 1 is less than card 2, then card 2 wins, right? So I've got this, my logic backwards. Okay, now let's try it. See if it works. Card 1 wins. Yes, that's correct. Try it again. Refresh. Card 1 wins. Correct. Let's try it again. Card 1 wins. Yes, card 1 is the one to be now. Card 1 wins. Okay, does card 2 ever win? There we go. Card 2 wins. All right. So the last piece then is that we need to create a loop.
The gaming membership. The gaming head.
That will ask our players if they want to play again. So that's the easy part. We've got the hard part all figured out. So let's go back to the very beginning, and we're going to recreate all of this code over and over and over again every time we loop through and do this again, right? So instead of hitting the refresh key like I've been doing, let's put it in a loop. And so I'm going to create a loop that says while, and I need a condition. So while play again, which is a variable I need to create, is the same as the word yes, then do everything that's in the open and close curly braces. So I'm going to come all the way down to the end of my code, all the way down to the end of my code. I'm going to tab that in just for a visual to make it easier to see which is inside which, just like we've done with our HTML and CSS. So let me go back up to the top. So all of these things are going to be repeated in my while loop as long as play again is the same as the string yes. So in order to start this, in order to go into it the first time, I need to create a variable called play again and make sure that it's equal to yes at least once, so that when the code gets to this while loop, when it's reading each line of code and it gets to, okay, play again is equal to yes. So the first time we hit line 18, play again will have that value yes inside of that variable. So it'll come in and do this at least once. And so then after all of these things are accomplished, after we've created the random card for player 1, created the random card for player 2, and then displayed, oh, we didn't do this part either, displayed the winner, right, the winning cards, then we're going to ask them for the prompt. We're going to do play again, and we're going to ask them if they want to play again. Prompt, play again. So that if they choose yes, then we will, if they choose yes, then when the code comes back up here, it will see that yes has been put into that variable, and it'll do it again and again and again until the user types in something else in the prompt box except for the word yes. All right, so let's just see if that works. Uncaught, I have an error. Uncaught error on line 17. So I've done something wrong, and I'm going to go back and fix that. So what did I do wrong? On line 17, oh, I did this in class too, didn't I? So I put in that it's doing a comparison. Compare this to this, which isn't really what I wanted to happen. I wanted to actually put yes into this variable. So that means put the assignment operator, assign this string to this variable. All right, so let's run that again. And it's a tie. That is correct. It is a tie. Shall we play again? I'm going to type in the word yes, so I'll see that loop is working. Card 2 wins. That's true. So click on OK. Play again. Yes. Card 1 wins. And so now I'm going to end my loop. Okay, perfect. Something else I meant to add, and this is the last of my video, I promise, is that instead of putting up an alert box, I want to actually put the winners in this H1 instead. I don't like the alert boxes, and I'd like to limit them and eventually get rid of them, which is what we would absolutely do as we progress in JavaScript. So I recognize that H1 has a unique ID. And so I'm going to come down here, and instead of doing the alert, where did I do the alerts, the winners? At the very bottom here. So now instead of doing an alert, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say document, get elements by ID. Look familiar? By ID. And that ID was called winner. And I'm going to use a different thing now. Last time we used source to change the image source. This time we're going to use something called inner HTML, which I think we did in class, which literally means whatever's in the opening and closing H1 tag, instead replace it with whatever I put in here. And what I'm going to put in here is the winner. So I'm going to create a variable called winner. I'm going to set a var winner. So I'm going to create a variable called winner. Depending on which bucket of our if condition our code will fall into, it'll set winner to a different string equals card2 wins. And I'll do the same thing. Now that I've tested my logic, I know that this should work correctly. Card1 wins. Otherwise, winner is, it's a tie. Put it in a string. It's a tie. And then I should be able to do this. And so whatever winner got filled with, whichever string got put into this variable, then is going to get replaced. Get element by ID winner, which is that H1 tag we placed right here. Inside the opening and closing H1 tag, put whatever is inside of this variable. So let's see if that works. So you can't see it. Let me stretch this out. Card2 wins. So instead of getting the alert, we're updating our H1 tag. Play again. Yes. Card1 wins. Play again. Yes. Card2 wins. Uh-oh, looks like I have a value that is not being displayed. So this is good test. I don't know why it's displaying, but good thing I console logged it. So it's seeing 10. Oh, look what happened here. So what I did was, because I console logged it, I could see what number was randomly being selected. So I could try and troubleshoot what the problem was. And so this is that random selection. And apparently I mistyped the word spades. See how it's S-P-A-D-E-S-S? So I have an error in my array. So I need to go into my array, and I will fix yours before I post it. Hopefully I don't forget. And I need to change that S to, so I can't recreate this, but I can at least come into here, into my cards, which was it? A 10 of spades. 10 of spades. 10 of spades. 10 of spades.png. So it looks like I have it spelled here correctly, which means that I must have 10 of spades on card 1. I'm going to put this on pause so I don't waste your time while I scroll, and I will show you what my final problem was. Yeah, so it's not in the cards, it's in the array. So I was just looking in the wrong space. So if I come to 10 of spades and I scroll across here, I'm guessing I misspelled 10. Yeah, there it is. So 10 of spades. All right, so that fixes that. So again, testing your code, it's a thing to do. So I can't recreate this, but I can at least keep going. Play again, yes. And continue on with, hopefully everything else is spelled correctly. Card 1 wins, play again, yes. These are things that programmers call bugs, and oftentimes lots of bugs are kept in programs. I'm sure you've heard of them in your gameplay. I know that there's lots of bugs that are left over that people get in and can add more gold to their bucket without, you know, wasn't intention. Anyway, point is, we're good here. We've got a war card game going. We've got a loop going that is playing cards over and over again. We're updating our page without having to keep refreshing the page. And we're coming up with a winning card, 1 or 2. I'm going to type no so that the game ends. And if you want to do maybe a nice little response at the end, maybe we can do something like at the very end of my program, I think I'm going to come in here and say document, get element by ID. I'm just going to copy this line right here. In fact, I'm even putting it in the wrong place. So after my while loop, which ends here, they've chosen the answer, no, they don't want to play again. We're going to exit our while loop, which is what we set up here. And then we'll do something like document get element by ID. Thank you for playing. And so then they get a nice little exit response. And I'll just double check that. And do you want to play again? Yes, I do. My H1 is getting updated with the winning card. And if I say no at the end, I should get thank you for playing. So there's your card game. There is in, what did we do? 2 weeks worth of work. We've got a super cool game, lots of code, but lots of things that concepts you should understand by now and hopefully are getting comfortable with. So have a great Thanksgiving, and I will see you in a week and a half.